The mist comes first. It drifts across the moors and valleys, soft as breath, veiling the bones of an island caught between worlds. The year is near 410 AD, the year the eagles of Rome flew home. Their banners, once bright with gold and crimson, now vanish beyond the sea, leaving behind a silence more haunting than war. The legions who had tamed the wild north are gone. The roads they built are broken by weeds. In their absence, the land remembers what it once was, older, wilder, and waiting. From Hadrian's Wall to the Cornish cliffs, the mist swallows everything a shroud for a dying age. In that fog, the people stir. Farmers who once paid taxes to distant emperors now turn to local chieftains for protection. Merchants close their markets. The villas crumble. Across the fields, old gods seem to awaken again. Offerings of milk and blood are left at sacred springs, just as they were before Caesar ever crossed the Channel. Rome had brought order, but only skin deep. Beneath it, the heart of Britain had always been tribal. Now, freed from empire, the tribes rise once more. Britons, Picts, Scots, and Saxons, names like thunder rolling across the mists, destined to clash. But before war, there is the waiting, the eerie calm before the storm. Travelers tell of abandoned towns, haunted by silence, of statues of Roman emperors toppled by ivy, of watchtowers burning in the night. Raiders from across the sea, the Saxons, the Angles, the Jutes test the shores, drawn by whispers of easy plunder and empty power. To the west, the Irish kings send fleets into the Welsh coast. To the north, the Picts strike beyond the wall. And in between lies a broken heartland, where once proud Roman citizens now sharpen spears beside Celtic warriors. The land is fracturing, and in that fracture, new rulers are born. Among the ruins of empire, legends take root. They speak of warlords rising from obscurity, of men whose names will echo in both truth and myth. One such tale begins in the shadow of the Severn River, where a chieftain named Vortigern gathers his followers beneath the smoking sky. Another tells of Ambrosius Aurelianus, said to be of Roman blood, rallying what remains of the legions to defend the island. And somewhere, in the western hills, bards whisper of a boy not yet a king, but destined to be, who will one day bear a sword against the storm. As the fog thickens, the island feels alive, not in peace, but in awakening. The gods of Rome retreat, the spirits of the earth return, and the warlords step into the void. Their eyes gleam with the hunger of destiny. The Misty Isles have no master now. Only those bold enough to seize their fate will rise from the haze to shape what Britain will become. The eagle of Rome, once the proud emblem of order, now lies broken in the mud. The island that was once Britannia has become something new. A fractured realm of lords and warriors, of ghosts and ambition. The Roman towns crumble into hollow shells. Roads that once rang with iron sandals are now paths for raiders and wandering clans. Yet amid the ruin, men rise chieftains who see power in the ashes. They are the first warlords of the Misty Isles, rulers not by right, but by strength. Vortigern stands among them, the overking of the Britons, crowned in the shadow of a collapsing world. To some, he is a savior. To others, a betrayer. His council fires burn bright as he calls for aid against the wild northern tribes, the Picts and Scots, who pour down like wolves from the highlands. But help does not come from within. It comes from beyond the sea. From the cold gray shores of the Germanic world come ships with dragon-headed prows, and within them, the Saxons. They are fierce, pagan warriors, clad in leather and mail, wielding spears longer than a man's height. To Vortigern, they are mercenaries, hired swords to protect a dying kingdom. To history, they are the storm that will devour it. The Saxons settle first as allies. Hengist and Horsa, brothers from the old legends, land in Kent under the banners of supposed friendship, but hunger and ambition are not so easily contained. As their numbers swell, so too does their power. Villages once Britain now speak the harsh tongue of the East. Churches burn, and the cross gives way to the axe. The island trembles again, as the saviors Vortigern summoned become conquerors in their own right. The eagle's ghost watches as the serpent coils tighter around the heart of the land. Yet resistance brews in the west. There, Remnants of the Romanized Britons rally under a man named Ambrosius Aurelianus, a commander said to have the bearing of an old Roman general. Though his troops fight with Celtic fury, his victories spark hope, fleeting but bright. Chroniclers centuries later would call his followers the last of the Romans. He builds forts among the hills, restores discipline, and unites scattered tribes. But unity, in this age, is fragile. Old rivalries smolder beneath the surface, Dumnonian against Powys, Gwynedd against Gwent. The dream of one Britain fades into a dream of survival. All across the Isle, the winds of war howl. Picts raid the north. Irish kings carve new realms in the west. Saxons claim the east and call it their own. The land itself seems to bleed, forests darken, rivers carry ashes. And in that storm, a question echoes across generations. Who will rule this broken land? For every chieftain believes himself chosen by fate. But fate, in Britain, is as fickle as the mist that veils its hills. The years that follow are soaked in blood. The mists that once cloaked the land now rise with the smoke of burning villages. The warlords who sought unity find themselves entangled in webs of deceit and vengeance. Oaths sworn over sacred cups of mead are broken as swiftly as they are made. In the fractured heart of post-Roman Britain, loyalty becomes a coin more fragile than bronze. The island is a chessboard of kings, each dreaming of empire, each haunted by the ghosts of Rome. Vortigern's star begins to fade. The same Saxons he brought as allies have become wolves at his door. Their hunger for land is endless. Their ships bring more kin each spring. The Britons, scattered and desperate, turn against him, calling him traitor, the man who sold Britain to the heathen. Legends tell that his fortress at Dinas Emrys burned in betrayal, flames licking the night as his allies deserted him. It is here that myth bleeds into history, for in those same hills, a boy is said to have stood before Vortigern, a youth who prophesied the fall of his house and the rise of another. His name would be remembered as Merlin, but even prophecy cannot halt the tide. Battles erupt from coast to coast, the Saxon shore, the Thames Valley, the river plains of Severn. Armies clash beneath banners of dragon and raven. The Angles and Saxons spread westward, burning what they cannot rule. In retaliation, the Britons rally under Ambrosius and his kin. The chronicles speak of a great war, not a single battle, but a generation of struggle. The soil itself becomes memory. Every field holds the bones of kings. In the ruins of Verulamium and Londinium, the old Roman walls become fortresses once more crumbling, but defiant. In this chaos, heroes are forged and broken. Cadel of Powys, Malglun of Gwynedd, Aurelius of the West, their names carried in songs and battle cries. Yet for every hero, a traitor lurks. Ambrosius's own allies quarrel for spoils, and the fragile alliances he built unravel in greed and jealousy. The Saxons exploit every fracture. They play one Briton lord against another, promising land, gold, or vengeance. And so the island devours itself, even as it fights for survival. The mist hides many murders, but none remain forgotten in the songs of bards who wander the blood-soaked roads. Still, out of ruin, a flicker of legend endures. After Ambrosius, the chroniclers whisper of a war leader, not a king, but a commander who unites scattered tribes under one banner. His victories, they say, drive the Saxons back, at least for a time. His name is Artorius, or in later tongues, Arthur. Whether man or myth, his shadow falls long across this age. The warlords may kill and betray, but the dream of one Briton of a land not yet lost to chaos still burns. And that dream, fragile as it is, will become the heart of the legends that define an empire yet unborn. The smoke of war begins to settle not in peace, but in transformation. The old gods of the forests and rivers, the spirits once worshipped beneath the oaks, begin to fade into silence. In their place rises a new light, fragile, flickering, yet unstoppable. The cross spreads across the land, carried not by legions, but by wanderers in tattered cloaks, monks who brave the wilderness with nothing but faith and a handful of sacred words. The age of warlords gives way to something deeper, the struggle for the soul of the Misty Isles. They come first from Ireland's saints and scholars, Patrick, Declan, Iltude, and later, Columba of Iona, men of vision who step into the ruins of Rome's world and plant seeds of hope. Their monasteries rise like beacons among the hills. Llaniltude, Bangor, Iona, Lindisfarne. From these sanctuaries, learning is reborn, the scriptures copied by trembling candlelight, the songs of psalms blending with the wind. The monks bring not only faith, but knowledge, medicine, farming, the art of words. Their quiet revolution begins to tame the chaos. Yet for every man of peace, a sword still gleams in the dark. For the warlords have not vanished, they have merely changed their banners. Some embrace the cross as a symbol of power, others resist it as a foreign god. Pagan kings still feast in mead halls lit by the fire of old rites, while Christian princes kneel before stone altars carved with Latin prayers. The island becomes a patchwork of belief, half sacred, half savage. Here, myth and faith dance together. The dragon of Arthur's banner becomes a symbol of both divine destiny and ancient pagan fire. The bards sing of him not merely as a warlord, but as a rex quondam et futurus, the once and future king. And so the legend deepens. Camelot, if it ever was, may have been a hill fort or a dream. Guinevere, a queen of shadowed lineage. Lancelot, perhaps a memory of a Gaulish knight. The sword in the stone, a myth born of the smith's forge and the warrior's oath. Yet through these tales, Britain finds its soul a bridge between the old and the new, between dragon and cross. Arthur becomes more than a man. He is Britain itself, yearning for unity in a land divided. His victories, real or imagined, offer hope that the mist may one day clear. But the wheel of fate does not rest. The Saxons gather strength again, spreading deeper into the valleys of the east. Their gods Woden, Thunor, and Tiw march beside them, carving their marks into the soil. The Britons hold the west, the Celts, the mountains, the monks, their cloisters, and between them, an invisible frontier divides worlds. Yet even as the cross rises higher, the people remember. They whisper the names of rivers and stones that still belong to the old faith. The island lives between two ages, one of myth, one of belief. And in that twilight, both dragon and cross shine side by side over the war-torn hills of the Misty Isles. The age of Arthur fades like dawn upon the sea. Whether he lived or merely dreamed through the songs of bards, his shadow withdraws into the west. The land he fought for, this wounded, haunted Britain, does not fall in a single battle, nor to a single king. It changes, slowly and painfully, as new powers rise from its soil. The old warlords vanish into legend, and the isles, these mist-wrapped kingdoms at the world's edge, awaken beneath new banners. The age of tribes becomes the age of nations. By the 6th century, the map of the Isles is no longer Roman, nor purely Celtic. In the east, the Saxons build their realms. Kent, Wessex, Sussex, East Anglia, each a shard of a new world forged in the fire of conquest. To the west, the Britons cling to their highlands, Gwynedd, Dumnonia, Strathclyde, their kings ruling from fortresses atop ancient hills. Across the sea, the Scots carve Dalriada from the mists of Argyll, and the Picts, fierce and proud, hold the north. The names shift like tides, but their roots run deep. Every hill, every river still whispers in the tongue of its ancestors. The warlords of old now wear crowns, yet their kingdoms are built on fragile foundations. The Saxons bring their laws, their language, and their gods, though in time even they will kneel before the cross they once scorned. The monks continue their quiet labor, writing not only scriptures, but the histories of the fallen. Gildas, the bitter chronicler, calls his people a generation of ruin, chastised by heaven. Yet, even in his despair, he preserves memory, the story of how the Isles were torn apart and reborn. In his words, we glimpse the dying fire of the old world and the faint light of the new. As centuries turn, the mists of myth settle into the stones of history. Arthur becomes legend. Vortigern becomes warning. The Saxons become the English. The Celts retreat to their mountains and coasts, carrying the last echoes of the world that was. The warlords who once ruled by sword and omen are now saints, villains, or forgotten names in chronicles written by their conquerors. Yet their spirit endures in the fierce pride of the Welsh, the songs of Cornwall, the legends of Scotland, the ruins that still crown lonely hills. And perhaps, when the fog drifts over those hills, their voices still whisper, the clang of iron, the cry of a raven, the murmur of a bard by firelight, all remnants of an age when the land itself chose its kings. These were not men of empire, but of endurance forged in chaos, bound to the soul of the island. They were the warlords of the Misty Isles, the bridge between Rome and England, myth and memory, pagan twilight and Christian dawn. Because the past is never truly gone. It's waiting to be reborn.